Okay, you guys, it is time to kick off our 2025 training. Today is the big day.
Yep, it's field test time again. Welcome back to our channel. We're Sid and Mackie, and we're on a quest to race the best and most challenging mountain bike races around the world. That means we spend March through October racing and traveling. So when our season is over, we need a break. I don't think I've ever been in so much pain after a bike race without crashing. The 2024 season was a big one, so our break was a little longer than usual. And now it's time to see how well we maintained or didn't maintain our fitness this off-season. To do that, we'll be doing a 20-minute max effort to determine our functional threshold power, or FTP. FTP is, put simply, the power you can sustain for 1 hour. But doing an actual hour-long max effort is ridiculous, not to mention difficult to find a place to execute outside. The 20-minute test, however, should give us a pretty good idea of where we stand right now. And while we both know that this is just a training metric and not at all a predictor of what we'll be able to accomplish in 2025, well, it's easy to take it a little too seriously.
I fail these every year.
Well, I'm nervous because I don't like failure.
Nothing like field tests to make you feel slow.
We do this about once a year. It's basically a functional threshold power test. I know there are a lot of apps that do this on your smart trainer and whatnot. We prefer to do it outside on the hill where we do most of our training, just to get the most helpful numbers for our training. That's really what this is. It's about getting the numbers that will help us progress the best with where we are right now. So we'll be doing a 4-minute max effort, a 20-minute max effort, and a 1-minute max effort, and basically just gonna see where the chips land. We have had kind of an interesting off season, and I'm putting that in quotes because we've actually been riding a lot. We just haven't really done any structured training since basically before Margie Gessick, which was in September, and it is currently November 15th. I've had almost 2 months of unstructured riding. I took 2 weeks fully off after Margie Gessick, and then in October we did a lot of long rides. We went to Arkansas and did a lot of fun riding, and since we got back from Arkansas, we were planning on doing this field test last week, but we got over a foot of snow at our house and 3 feet of snow in the mountains, so we decided to go ahead and push that back. Today is looking like a beautiful November, New Mexico day. I think we're even gonna get over 50 degrees, which is gonna be glorious. I think it'll be a really good day to get out there on the gravel bikes and see what we can do. My dad is gonna tag along and do a little bit of filming from his e-bike, so you can look forward to that. And yeah, now we just need to eat something and get ready to go.
So this is actually breakfast number 2 of the day. We started off morning with our usual oatmeal and fruit and yogurt, but since we wanted to capture some of the warmer temperatures of the day, we're gonna head out for a ride at like 11:30. So naturally, second breakfast was in order. So just made us a super basic breakfast burrito with eggs and ham because we're about to go really hard. So usually we might have a little bit more salsa or guacamole or veggies on this, but today we're keeping it boring and easily digestible.
I suspect I'm a lot less nervous than Sid because I fail these every year.
Oh man, that was discouraging. That was very hard.
Fail compared to Sid. Sid like goes out there and smashes her intervals and like does 20 watts higher than anybody expected, and mine are like, yep, couldn't really make my numbers, didn't hit what supposedly my FTP.
I think you're just making excuses beforehand.
I'm just like, that's literally what has happened the last 2 years. And then I've gone on to have a great season and like gotten fitter and faster. So like I just have a hard no, I just have a hard time worrying that like lower numbers means something bad is going to happen.
Well, I'm nervous because I don't like failure.
I do like failure.
Sure, all right, whatever.
How'd that one feel?
Oh, that's hard.
Oh. Nothing like field tests to make you feel slow. You don't think 9,131 feet of altitude, I should say? That was rough. I basically just put it on a screen where all I had was my lap, so I didn't know what the power was, and switched it over right before the end and averaged like 320, which, I don't know. I hate field tests. They always go lousy for me, but whatever. They always go lousy for me, and then I end up having a good year, so
Yeah,
there we
there
go.
you go.
That was tough.
How'd yours go?
That's 261, which is either the same as last year or like 1 watt higher or lower. I can't remember. So I don't feel terribly encouraged by that, but it could be worse. Oh man. And I collapsed and laid in the dirt for a while, hoping you would come film my theatrics.
So do you guys want to guess who was nervous about this and then smashed all the numbers, and who was like, probably going to be lousy again?
I don't
And
think
it was kind of lousy.
the numbers. I went 1 watt higher than last year.
Are you sure?
No.
No.
I
Well,
got a QOM for myself, so that's always fun too.
cue them from yourself. Go ahead and go back to Training Peaks. Read us the Training Peaks things.
My 1 minute was 3rd best of the year at 401 watts, which actually surprised me. I didn't realize I've ever done a minute over 400 watts, but apparently I've done it 3 times this year. So 5 minute, we didn't do a 5 minute, so this would be the first 5 minutes of the 20 minute, whereas 282. 10 minutes, supposedly all-time best of 271.
Dang.
And 20 minutes, supposedly all-time best of 261, which I swear is what I did last year. So either I tied it or it was like 1 watt higher.
I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you too. I know you're grumpy. This is what always happens. I'm grumpy before, and then Mackie's grumpy afterwards. You should try being grumpy before.
I should try being grumpy before, because maybe that'll work better. It was fine. It was about as uninspired as it always is for me on field tests. I don't like field tests. I do much better racing than I do field testing.
I don't think anybody likes field testing. I'm like slightly disappointed though, because I wanted to be faster than last year, not just do exactly the same
Yeah, but
thing.
you think that you did exactly the same thing, but you got a best all-time 20 minutes.
I bet you I tied it. Shall we go settle this? Basically, I tied my 2023 field test, which I feel slightly discouraged about, because I would like to be faster. Except objectively, I am faster, so that's kind of the problem with field tests. I went faster on all of the segments on Strava, so I think a little bit of this might be like my watts per kilo are better, but the watts are not better. And that might explain some of the being faster.
My 20 minute was 2 watts lower than last year. My 10 minute was 9 watts lower than last year. My 1 minute, my 1 minute was 9 watts higher. That's good.
And yet, inexplicably, we're both faster. So I think we better get Coach Mike on the line and have him explain this phenomenon to us.
Yeah, I mean, I can look at both days at almost the same time and be like, but objectively, I can be like, oh yeah, here's the other things that were going on. And I'm not upset about that. I'm actually pretty excited about the field tests.
Why are you not upset about the field tests?
One is a much longer off season, especially for you, Sid. So yours was close to 6 weeks. Mackie's was 4.5. Last year was like 3 weeks. You guys jumped into Frog Hollow. Anytime you do something like that and then you recover pretty well, there's going to be some fitness bump just from, you went out and you rode hard 1 hours, I forget, 5 or 6 times each. And then we just allowed for recovery before the field test. It was a really good field test last year. This year, I feel like it was a super field test because you basically didn't do much of anything beforehand.
Pretty much didn't do anything hard. Like, I feel like I maybe rode more this off season than last year, but it was all like chill, longer miles kind of stuff.
I think last year I didn't want you to ride much because it was so short. And this year it's like, oh yeah, just do what you want because it's going to be longer. And I was happy that it was longer because of like how big last season was, how big this coming season is already shaping up to be. It was funny because there was like 1, 4, 8 watt differences, which like it's pretty minimal what you can do alone versus what you're doing when you're racing. Well, yeah, you can make up 10 watts when you're racing because there's somebody either in front of you or behind you and you're pushing yourself harder. Like on a field test, it's really hard to like find a few extra watts.
I think that was definitely true for me. It was frustrating having the same numbers as last year especially for the 20-minute thing. Like, I think within 1 or 2 watts, but I feel like I improved between, like, I feel like I'm faster this year than I was last year.
In the end, the field test, it's for training. The only place I'm concerned about your performance is on the race course. That's a hard thing, even for me to like convince myself of. So I know it's difficult for you guys to convince yourself of. Like, we get wrapped around these numbers and like, oh, I need to see X amount of improvement. Do we need to see it on test day? Not necessarily. If we see it on race day, I need to remind myself that I don't care if I see it on test day or not.
I think I like underestimated how not linear that is, because I have been on such a upward trajectory between 22 and 23. Between those tests was like a 12% improvement or something. So I sort of thought like, oh, we could at least do a 5% improvement. Then, as you pointed out, that's not the point. We could have trained for a few weeks and then rested and then done the FTP test if that was the point, but it's not the point.
And we know that Sid got faster. Like, whether or not the field test improved any, like, we know you were faster.
So it's there, and I'm excited because it's there in something that looks theoretically more like a race than just a 20-minute effort.
I mean, I think for both of us, but probably especially for me this year, because of Margie Gesick being the focus, some of the stuff we were doing was targeting more being at 80% of FTP for 12 hours versus increasing the actual threshold.
I don't even know if I put a number on it for like 12 hours because it's just like, especially for Margie, because it's so different than anything else. I can't wrap a number around like, oh, you have to walk up this short, steep little pitch, at 11 hours. There's no number that we can wrap around that.
What I heard you say is you are not upset with the numbers despite the fact that they didn't really change from last year.
No, not at all. Extenuating factors, longer off season, no big efforts right before, and it's just a starting point for the season. So in the grand scheme of things, your race performance matters a lot more.
As always, talking to Coach Mike makes us feel a lot better about both the field test and the direction we're heading in generally with our training. In fact, maybe a small, quote-unquote, fail on the field test is just what we needed to light a fire for some serious training this off-season. We have 3 months until we head to New Zealand for the volcanic epic, so it's time to get our noses stuck into that grindstone. Luckily, with some unseasonably warm weather around the corner, we found some ways to make the grindstone a lot more fun. Stick around for next week's adventure, where we're off to tackle the hardest mountain bike climb in our home state.
Oh, there it is.
Nice.
Oh god, I guess I better keep going.
With some special guests.
That was a great idea that we had.
Ma'am, please stop altering the trail. You can't park here.